Okay, class, now we start on section 2.3, subtracting signed numbers, or commonly known as integers. We know that subtraction is the opposite of addition, so it is reasonable that when we subtract, we are really adding the opposite value, and therefore going in the opposite direction on a number line. So subtracting two numbers. If a and b are numbers, that a minus b is equal to a plus a negative b. To see this, think about a simple problem, 8 minus 5. Okay, now, in words, we know 8 minus 5 is the same as saying 8 subtract positive 5. But we could rewrite that as 8 add negative 5. So 8 minus 5 is the same as saying 8 plus a negative 5. This is what you're thinking. Because remember, in the previous section, when we did 8 plus a negative 5, we did subtraction, which was 3. And we know our answer was positive because 8 is furthest from 0. So it works out to be the same. Now, we scroll down here. This is what you're doing. We have 8, which is positive, and we have 5. We have this minus 5. So we know this minus 5, when we write it as 8 plus a negative 5, we could look at this minus 5 as just being a negative 5. So 8 plus a negative 5, we know is 3. Okay. Now, we scroll down here to the next page. It says, let's try the same approach with another problem. Negative 3 minus 7. Now it says in words, negative 3 subtract positive 7. And then in symbols, we will write negative 3 minus 7. Now we could rewrite this as negative 3 add negative 7. So it would be negative 3 plus negative 7. This is what you're thinking. This is what you're thinking should be in your head. When you see this negative 3 minus 7 in your head, you should know that's negative 3 plus a negative 7. Okay, now, so negative 3 minus 7, we know that this is really negative 3 plus a negative 7. So we know when we have the same sign, we add them together and carry the sign, which will give us negative 10. Now we come down here. It says, let's try the same approach one more time. We have negative 4 minus a negative 6, or subtract a negative 6. So negative 4 subtract negative 6. We have this in symbols, which is negative 4 subtract a negative 6. So we could say negative 4 add positive 6. And the reason why we could say that is because in our previous problems, when we had a problem like this here, this was read as the opposite of negative 6, which gave us a positive 6 or just 6. Right? So it's positive 6, or you could write just 6. So we did that in lesson section 2.2. So what we would do here is this negative 4 minus a negative 6. We know minus a negative 6 would give us positive 6. So this will end up becoming negative 4 plus 6, or negative 4 plus a positive 6. So now we want to combine those values. We will add negative 4 plus 6. We know we would do regular subtraction. 4 from 6 we know gives us 2. And since positive 6 is further away from 0 than negative 4, our final answer here would just be 2. Now, we scroll down here. As you work sample problems, try to get used to finding the answers without changing these to the addition form. That is why in those problems we were saying do it in your head. In the last example, the form negative 4 plus 6 is preferred. Many people simply cross the two minus signs to change this to the addition form. Negative 4 minus a negative 6 becomes negative 4 plus a positive 6. Okay, now let's try some problems here. We had 13 minus 4. We could do standard subtraction. 13 minus 4 we know gives us 9. We can go off to the side. You know we cannot take 4 from 3, so we borrow 1 from this 1. That becomes 0, and this 3 becomes 13. 13 minus 4 is 9, which is the answer that we have. Now we go here to number 2. Now remember, in your head you should be thinking negative 8 plus a negative 2. So we're adding with the same sign. So we know we will add the numbers and carry their sign. So it'll be a negative 10. Now we go down here to number 3. 11 minus a negative 15. Now we know with this minus a negative 15, that means the opposite of negative 15. So this is really 11 plus 15, which we know is 26. Now we go here to number 4. We will have negative 9 and minus a negative 1. We know that's the opposite of negative 1, which would be positive 1. So we have negative 9 plus 1. And we know we'll just subtract this. We can go to the side. 9 minus 1 is 8. So we know our answer is going to have an 8. Now the sign of 8, we look here. 9 is further away from 0 than 1 is. So we would keep 9 sign, which would give us negative 8. And for some reason, that negative sign wouldn't stay, but we got it to stay that last time. Okay, number 5, we have 6 minus 9. Now remember, in your head, you should be thinking this is 6 plus a negative 9. So knowing that these have different signs, so we would just do regular subtraction. 9 minus 6 gives us 3. So now we have to determine the sign of the 3. Now remember, in your head, you're thinking 6 plus a negative 9. So we know the negative 9 is further away from 0 than 6 is, so our answer would be negative 3. Now I'm going to write that one last time here. This is what's on the paper. This is what should be in your head. You should get out of the habit of writing it like this, but this is what you should be thinking. Okay, now number 6, we have negative 14 minus 5. Now remember, we will look at this as negative 14 plus negative 5, which will give us a negative 19. Same sign, you're adding, and you carry the sign. Now number 7, negative 3 minus a negative 4. So we will have negative 3, and minus a negative 4 will give us a positive 4, because this is the opposite of negative 4. Now we know we will subtract 3 from 4, which will give us 1. And since 4 is furthest away from 0, we will keep it positive. Now we come down here. Now first, let's see this. We have 8 plus a negative 2 minus 9 minus a negative 7. Now, what we could do is this here. We could say 8 plus a negative 2. We know that's the same as 8 minus 2, so we know that's 6. Minus 9 minus a negative 7. Now, 6 minus 9, we know that's the same as 6 plus a negative 9, which would give us a negative 3. So we would have negative 3 minus a negative 7. Now to see how you would do 6 minus 9, we did 6 minus 9 here in problem number 5. And you see we got negative 3 here, so 6 minus 9 should still give us negative 3 here. Now if you notice, we have minus a negative 7, so we have to change that to negative 3 plus 7, because it's the opposite of negative 7. Negative 3 plus 7 will give us a positive 4. Because remember, these have different signs, and 3 from 7 gives us a 4. And since 7 is more units away from 0 than negative 3, we will keep the sign positive. So now we scroll down here to section C. It says solve problems by subtracting sign numbers. We can use subtracting sign numbers to solve word problems as well as real world problems by following the 4-step problem solving process. Now we have not done the problem solving process yet, but we can still do this section here. It says subtract 6 from negative 15. Now if I said subtract 6 from your age, you will put your age first, minus 6, right? Subtract 6 from negative 15 is the same as saying subtract 6 from your age. So negative 15 minus 6, we know that's the same as negative 15 plus a negative 6. So we will add the numbers together, which would give us 21, and we would carry the sign. So this would be negative 21. Now we come to problem number 2. We have subtract negative 3 from 9. So we said subtract negative 3 from your age. You will write your age, which here would be 9. minus a negative 3. Because it says subtract negative 3. This is subtract negative 3 from 9. So 9 minus a negative 3, this is the opposite of negative 3, which would be 9 plus 3. And 9 plus 3, we know is 12. Now we come down here to example set C, continue. It says use subtraction of signed numbers to solve the following problem. The highest point in Asia is the top of Mount Everest at a height of 29,028 feet above sea level. The lowest point is the Dead Sea, which is 1,312 feet below sea level. How much higher is Mount Everest than the Dead Sea? Now, whenever we ask a question like how much higher is one thing over the other, we know we're doing subtraction. So if I say how much higher is my age than yours, you would put my age first, then you would put your age, but we would subtract them. So we need to write down 29,028 feet. We'll put our comma here, minus, now of course here, matter of fact, let me do this side by side first. So I will put 29,028 feet minus, now we are to subtract, the lowest point is the Dead Sea, which is 1,312 feet below sea level. So it'd be minus a negative 1,312 feet. Because remember, this is below sea level. So we have 29,028 feet. And minus, or the opposite of negative 1,312 feet, will give us plus 1,312 feet. So now we're going to add that. 29,028 feet plus 1,312 feet. So we know our answer is going to end in feet. 8 plus 2 is 10. We carry our 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 0 plus 3 is 3. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry a 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So it'll be 30,340 feet. Now we have to write this in a sentence. So we would say that Mount Everest is 30,340 feet higher than the Dead Sea. And that will be your final answer.